That's very fair. And so we'll kick it over to you, right? If you're going to be doing something not exactly right, at least be like Clint Shelf instead of Baker Mayfield and have that get away from cop speed. But, but Jason, go ahead and chime in here, my guy. What do you think? Because you had an interesting take when I talked to you earlier about some of this. So go ahead and fire away, bud.
There's a few extra. I mean, I can talk about a few different things. What I'll start off with saying is that it's not even as much about the money. It's about the look, and it's about the. We've talked about this a lot before, Cody. Is that you cannot afford to have the look of impropriety in college sports, and you don't get the excuse anymore of we don't get no money, and
Right.
if you're an Arlen Bruce and you're a starter and you're Hunter Deckers, you're a starter, you've got money. So you don't
Yeah.
get to use that excuse anymore that you needed the money and that the NCAA is screwing you over, and which we know the NCAA will screw you. But the point is that they don't really have any teeth at this point. I don't know how much they could really do anything. It sounds to me like this is more of a cop problem when it comes to Iowa State and Iowa too, by the way. And if this is what's going on with Bruce, if he's I mean, I just heard Trent say it looked like he fell on purpose instead of scoring a touchdown. That's not even the thought, whether he's right or wrong, right? Whether you believe it or you don't believe it or you can prove it or not, doesn't really matter. The fact that there's that look of impropriety, and and if it could have changed the, do they win the game? Yeah, they still win the game, but they don't cover, right? I don't know about the game.
Well,
In fact, this
dude,
is the
I think just the fact that he's wrapped up in this, in and of itself, it makes you question plays like that. Like it could have been 130,000% that he simply fell down, right?
all over his
But
shoestring. Who cares? Yeah,
but because he did bet, like it
that's
gives
right.
that small opening of, well, you could see the validity of the sketchy level here.
Well, and that's the thing about it is like like Jason just said, you wouldn't even think about it until that news came out, and then you go back and watch all that film, and you
Yeah.
specifically look at that certain player, and you're like, okay, like
Y'all remember
something
Blue
doesn't add
Chips?
up.
That movie Blue Chips, where he's going back and he's watching over the film and all that stuff. And he's like, "Who's shaving points? Who's shaving points?"
Right. And the thing about it is, it's obviously it's not
Mhm.
even just the football. Like I know Iowa, they have players, athletes in multiple different sports getting in trouble. There was,
Yeah.
I think I read a wrestler who bet like many thousands, not just like an Arlen Bruce or a Hunter Decker, like a couple thousand. Like he
Right.
bet many thousands.
But the thing is, and again, it's not even. I mean, yeah, it could be. It looks worse the more money there's in there, because if you are a college kid and you're not like a superstar, I don't know how much wrestlers are making in NIL money. I'm guessing not a whole lot. It's not a revenue sport.
Oh, in Iowa, it's
I know it's
they
a big
get
deal
paid
there.
good.
I know it's a big deal there. Yeah. And I get that. But the point is like, how much money can he make? He's not making football player money. You know what I mean?
That's a good question. That's something I'll definitely have to look into, because
In
now that
any
you
of
brought that up, I'm curious about it, because
it kind of makes you wonder. But the bottom line is that the fact is, if it's something that can be bet on, because I mean, whatever it is, and you can affect the outcome, then you just can't have it. And I mean, if you think about the fact of all these years that they wouldn't allow professional sports to be in Las Vegas, right? Because there was, because that was where the only place that you could sports gamble at that point, there in Atlantic City. Now it's pretty much available everywhere. I mean, Cody, you talk about it on your show. You guys are you actually have advertisements for different FanDuel or DraftKings or something like that. You have that already. So it's available to people to do everywhere. When you have that ability to do that, there's always going to be somebody who's going to try to beat the system. And kids are vulnerable to it. What it makes me want to know is what the hell's going on with Matt Campbell? What's going on with Mike Gundy? Why is somebody not paying attention to this stuff, and it's allowed to happen? And I'm not just blaming it on the head coaches per se, but you got to have some control of what's going on. And I get it. There's 130 kids in your program. That's a lot of kids to keep up with. But look, if there's got to be somebody in control of that and in compliance. Now, obviously, they've gotten caught for a reason, right? And with the Deckers thing, how stupid was that? I mean, it's even on the video. Oh, don't post that. Don't post that video. I could get in trouble.
Jason, see, I agree. I agree with you, like in the sense of, so Matt Campbell, and Mike Gundy are in two like separate situations, because Mike Gundy,
Sure.
this stuff has been going on for the last year. The state of Iowa has been trying to figure out what all athletes have been betting. So Mike Gundy, when we recruited this kid, he had no idea. He
Okay.
done the right
and
thing
I'm not necessarily blaming either one of the
yeah,
head coaches.
no. And so like he didn't know, and he's doing the right thing by saying, you know, we're not allowing him to be in any team athletes. Like he still is on scholarship. But like the Matt Campbell thing, and like, you know, for us older guys who are been out of college for a while, it's like you shouldn't have to babysit a kid who's between like 18, 24 years old and watch every single thing they do. Like I know Matt Campbell and whatever Iowa's head coach's name is, they have these conversations. From what I've talked to with people up here, they're like, they have these conversations at the beginning of every year when it comes to sports betting, and they say, do not do it. But I mean, like you said, 130 athletes that you have to worry about. Like no coach is ever going, I mean, they don't have time to do that. You know what I mean? So there has to be a way. Like I agree with you. Like there has to be someone, they should put someone in charge of it, but head coaches, they don't want to.
Well, even if it's just education stuff and being like, look, guys, we're gonna catch you, because it's, I mean, look, here's the thing about it. There's not really a whole lot of stuff that you can get away with anymore.
Nope.
Everything that you're doing on these phones right here is being watched by somebody. And if you don't believe that, go and watch that movie with Dianne Feinstein. I forget what it's called, but it got the guy from freaking Star Wars in it that plays Kylo Ren. Crazy, right? Or go watch freaking Snowden. They're watching. They know what we're doing, right? Whether you have the cameras on or the computer on or whatever the hell, they know what you're doing. So if you've got, and you know, in the case of Hunter Deckers and them, I mean, shit, they didn't even try to hide it. It was under his name, right?
I mean, yeah, that kid was straight up going into bars, just betting college kids. He's like, you know, and dumb. Like I know you saw that video. I know you guys saw that video of him in that bar, like sauced up, talking to some Iowa student, like, "Hey, well, let's make a $500 bet on this game, yada yada." But yeah, no, I agree with you.
Yeah, look, and I'm just saying, and I mean, you know, yes, Pierce, I see what you're talking about there, and yes, I understand that it's not. I'm not blaming anybody. I just got done saying that Pierce is a piece of work. This guy, right? This guy constantly on my chops. But the thing is, and nobody knows what these kids. And yeah, you got to be a grown up. You got to be a grown up at some point, you know. And they expect, and particularly now that you're being paid to play the game. I mean, we can go ahead and call it what it is. It's pay for play. Let's not beat around the bush about it. It is what it is. And particularly now, what we talked about earlier, Cody, I think this may be what you were talking about. Does the NCAA even have any power in Oklahoma? Because the legislation basically said the NCAA does not get to suspend us for anything. Right?
Yeah, but it being a betting thing, right? You're talking IRS type stuff. You would assume I mean, maybe it would be a little bit different. But no, I think
federal charges can get your ass in trouble. But you know what I'm saying. But what I'm telling you is I don't think that the NCAA has any jurisdiction over this anymore.
I'm tracking. Well, dude, they don't. Everybody knows. It's only a matter of time before the NCAA is. It's a pointless entity, right?
Well, what I said this on my show when we kind of talked about Deckers before, right? Is I don't want to hear them anyway. They've been lining their pockets off the backs of these kids for years, decades. Right. So
I mean, I get that. I get that perspective as well. So hey, that is a really good opening to get into the betting situation that's going on and all that fun jazz. I love it, Trent. All right, Jason, you shoot, buddy. What's the number one storyline for your opinion down in Storm and Norman and nationally as well?
I hate to say it, but it's probably the recruiting stuff right now with Oklahoma. You've got multiple 4- and 5-star defensive linemen, namely Williams Winery, who today was being basically crystal balled to go to Mizzou. I'm not sure that I buy that, even though it was from Wilfong. And Wilfong is right a lot of the time because he changes his freaking mind at the last second when he hears about who it's really going to be. So we talked about what we thought about the, you know, another thing that should not have the look of impropriety, and are these recruiting services, and they look terrible a lot. I mean, you know, they just do. But I don't know what's going to happen with him. I think that it's gripped Oklahoma fans this afternoon, even just in the last few hours. We were watching our buddy Jay at Unfair Sports, and they were having to talk everybody off the ledge. So it's a big problem. They're worried that he is going to go to Mizzou. I think Eli Drinkowitz and that Missouri collective is dumping every last cent they have into trying to get him to stay. The good news would be that and this is what I tried to tell one of them earlier, was that you're in with, there's 6 guys that have them in their top 3. 6 that are blue chippers, defensive tackles, defensive linemen, Nigel Smith and David Stone and, David McKinley. Then you've got I think probably one of the biggest ones would be Danny Okoye, from right in the state, so these guys are also, if you got any two of these guys,
and hats off on Jaden Nickens. Jaden Nickens,
don't you wish Oklahoma State had these problems?
No, and this is what I'm talking about.
I was about to ask, buddy, what do you think? What do you think is lending itself to the trend that OU is a hotbed for recruiting right now? Because Lincoln Riley did say, did he not, that you can't really get all the big time guys, which is a stupid statement because Bob Stoops got big time guys all the time.
Lincoln Riley, from an outsider looking in, was saying anything he could to make his move not look so bad. Like OU could honestly probably go out and get anybody that they wanted if they really.
You saying something like that, like you got to know that there's a good chance it backfires.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. Like I said.
Yeah, look, that's the first thing you said is you can't recruit elite talent, particularly defensive talent, to Norman. And when you've had guys that, college football Hall of Famers like Roy Williams and Gerald McCoy, who's about to be an NFL Hall of Famer, and Tommy Harris, who's probably going to be an NFL Hall of Famer, the Selman brothers. There's all kinds of guys that have been through here that are freaking off the charts.
Dude, it's all about your DC. Homeboy was not.
If you can get guys like Barry Sanders and Thurman Thomas to go to Oklahoma State, don't tell me you can't recruit, big time players to the state of Oklahoma. It's the stupidest thing in the world, right? Come on, man. And look at the receivers and even some of the quarterbacks that Oklahoma State's had over the years. Good grief. You know what I mean? There's ballers that come to this state to play football. And there's ballers that play in the state in high school, by the way. You know what I mean? Gerald McCoy's a local product. David Stone's a local product. Okoye is a local product. We're talking about all these guys that are Oklahoma players. Nickens. Hey, these guys can all play. And it's, a lot of people, you talk about the Texas pipeline, which is super important. We know that. We know that. Yeah. But that's not something that you're going to lose if you're Oklahoma or Texas. And you continue to get these stupid narratives coming out of people like Lincoln and Colin Cowherd of all places that says that, you're going to turn in Oklahoma's about to turn it into the Nebraska of the SEC. How stupid is that? And yet they're still recruiting at that level. And the reason they are, honestly, as much as I think a lot of people realize that Brent Venables kind of left in the, it wasn't a cool situation for him, why he left, because he was upset that Mike Stoops was coming back to town and taking half the job from him.
I thought he got ran out of town after OU got stomped on in Bedlam. But I could be wrong. That's just what I thought. I thought he got pretty much ran out of town. I think there's a mixture of things. You lost the national championship game to USC that year, and it wasn't pretty, and games happen, but Oklahoma's consistently, under Venables, had, top 10 defenses in the country. They just did. When he got to Clemson, it got even better, because they started getting not just guys from all over the country because he could do that, but he opens up a pipeline to Florida, the speed state. Who was the worst defensive coordinator at OU, Mark Stoops or what's his face that was with Lincoln Riley that's out at USC?
Mike or Grinch. Oh, man. And the thing about Mike is that I think that something happened when he took that job at Arizona and came back. He wasn't really the same dude, right?
Right.
It wasn't working the same, whatever happened. But I think Grinch, yeah, for sure. I'm not a fan. And I think a lot of the big, you guys talk about body by glass. Right now, you've got, Schmitty in town. Before, they had a yoga instructor which is he's Wiley and he's there at SC right now. You're going to see Bear's probably going to have lost 35 pounds whenever they start the season, right? Same with Mason Cobb and those dudes. They didn't get bigger, I promise. And if they did, they didn't get really stronger because that's not how they work. They just want to be fast. And there's a sweet spot for that stuff. You need speed, but you better have some strength too, because you got to be able to, especially on the defensive line, man, you got to be able to fight through blocks and have burst and power, right?
Especially going to the SEC, where the SEC is built on defense.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And it's exactly, if you're not built from the trenches out, you're screwed. You're not going to win there, right? And so this is a possible recruiting class that, it could be all-time good, guys. It could. And so that's a huge thing. I think nationally, honestly, the national thing I think is that, hey, football is freaking 16 days away for week 0. We get to see what all the hype about is with USC. Of course, they're playing San Jose State, so it's not that big a deal. But we're gonna get our first glimpse of part 2 of Lincoln in Southern California. So also on top of that, also whenever we got over here, we talk. What's up, Fanatic? What's up, Coach I? They in there busting on you already?
I was about to say, we got some comments rocking and rolling. So for a few minutes, so we'll get to Jason. What I want you to get to is your biggest storyline nationally thus far. And while Jason's getting into that, and we break that down here for a little while, we'll start answering some questions before we move on to the next segment. So go ahead and give us your national thing while we let some people fire away in here for a bit.
I don't know. I think that probably there's a few different storylines. Obviously, we don't know what's about to happen with the ACC. You could see that come apart any minute now, right? So we'll wait and see kind of what happens there. But I'm kind of sick of that. But so my thing is that I'm excited about the start of the season, man. We get to the talking season's about over with. We're going to get to talk about stuff that's really happening on the field instead of what our projections are, and get to see the fruits of the labor of these coaches and these staffs and the kids themselves who've been putting in all this work. So, new season, everybody gets to start off anew, 0-0. I'm excited to see who's right, who's not.
Trent, kind of on that line, I'll go ahead and pop this up from Fanatic. Just put a comment up there. ACC falling apart. If you were to take us inside that golden glass dome of yours, give us a timeline on how long you think the ACC has.
Man, I really can't tell you because it all depends on Florida State and Clemson and who's going to put the money up to get out of there. It could be in the next couple years. It could be 2036. It really just depends. And I think if Notre Dame were to join the ACC full time, they wouldn't go anywhere, but Notre Dame doesn't want to make that commitment to the ACC. So, and it sounds like the ACC also doesn't want Cal and Stanford. So who knows, dude?
They want out.
I definitely don't think the alignment is over.
Yeah, no, it's certainly not over. But dude, that was a wishy-washy way. I wanted you to have a bold ass take there, man. Like, okay, I'll ask you this. Do you think if you're a betting man, which I know that you are, if you're a betting man, do you think it's a done deal by do you think at least 4 teams out of the ACC are gone by 2025?
I'll say yes. I'll get spicy with it. I'll say yeah. I'll do it.
There you go. All right.
By 2025, it could be gone by freaking 25 minutes from now. It sounds like some of the stuff you've been seeing. I don't think that's the hottest it takes really right at this point. I think that as much as we figured it was going to take years, it doesn't appear that that's the case, right, Cody?
Robert, yeah. I see your comment down there, and you said the ACC can't break up, or they're going to be losing ESPN money. Bet? Any team that leaves is going to be losing money. It's just they don't care. They're more willing to look toward the future and see how much money they could be gaining. They don't care about losing money right now. That the whole point really losing is to get settled in and get to where you see yourself being for the long haul. You know what I mean?
If you're making $50 million over what you're going to make in your current deal, and you can pay 10 of it a year to pay off your debt, which is what they're talking about, that's not losing money. That's gaining $40 million a year.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a simple thing. It's and the way that and here's the thing: what do you really lose if you're Florida State? You know what I mean? Because forget the money part. But if you're losing that amount of money per year by staying in this ridiculous contract for the next 13 years until 2036, I mean, how crazy do you got to be to do that? How long is it going to take you to fall completely behind? Florida State's just now trying to get back into the picture, right? They've been struggling since Jimbo, right? So
go ahead. I'm sorry, Jason. I mean,
no, you're good. No, and it's just the same thing that you kind of run into with the Big 12 is that I know they're doing some things to make up that gap, but why are they having to struggle so hard to do it? Because you can't afford to have that gap very big for very long. You just can't, because it's an arms race. And look, as great as the Big 12 is going to be in basketball, because they are you going to have a brand that can carry you and can go through and win the whole thing? We got to wait and see on that. And I'm not saying that you can't. What I'm telling you is that you can't if you're that far behind. And that's what Florida State and Clemson and everybody else knows. Now, ESPN doesn't have to care, but because they don't really lose money either way, they're going to end up with the money that they're going to make money off of them either way. But in the end, I mean, if you're Florida State, I don't see that you have a choice at this point. It's well worth losing whatever it is.
Well, the thing how Florida State's going about it is they're not even, I mean, they haven't really said too much about the money they did in the beginning, but then they made it like, oh, we want to compete for championships. And I'm like, you guys can't even win the ACC. You know what I mean? That's just it's wild to me. Like, I get if you got more finances going into your program so you can recruit better or whatnot, but just that statement, I don't know why, it just made me laugh. I'm like, oh, we want to be able to compete for national championships. Like, you can compete for national championships in the conference you're in now. You just got to win it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I dig it. All right. So let's jump into another segment here. So Trent, I'll go to you real quick. Since you're wearing the greatest hat that's potentially ever been put out there.
I'll send one to Jason. I'll mail one to Jason so he can wear it on his show. I'm sure his OU followers would love it.
He needs it. Oh yeah, they'll let us know in the comments that he needs more orange. That's 100% factual and accurate. But all right, Trent, right? What do you think in one sentence? Like, okay, I'll give you an example. If Oklahoma State wins 10 games, it's because, like, I would say something to the effect of, we have 1,000-yard rusher and 1,000-yard receiver. Some along those lines. I can
already answer that for you. You can stop right there. Our O-line can actually block. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, that might help.
But the O-line being able to block so we can actually run the ball, because we were so one-dimensional last year. We couldn't run the ball, and everyone knew we were going to throw it. So that was – and obviously with injuries, it was just it was a nightmare year, dude. But, yeah, to me, and I've talked to you about this many, many times before on Spaces and shows that we've done, it all comes down – OSU's success this year comes down to our O-line. I'm not worried about us on defense. I think even with Brian Nardo coming into his first season, I think – we still have a bunch of dogs on defense. We got dudes that can compete. I'm not worried about that. I'm just worried about our offense and our O-line, especially with the new schemes that we're doing. Our offense is going to look completely different this year.
I dig it. All right, Jason, same for you. OU wins 10 games because?
First thing would be the schedule. You take away 3 contender teams that were on the schedule a year ago that they lost to. And they're not on the schedule. They lost to Baylor, they lost to Texas Tech, and they lost to Kansas State. These were all 3-point losses, but they're still losses, and they're the teams that you would expect to be contenders. The second part of it is the recruiting and transfer portal, the guys that they brought in. I mean, this isn't that 124th ranked defense that you saw a year ago. We watched them in the spring game. You got freshman All-American Deshaun McCullough coming through there. You've got PJ Adebawore, a 5-star, one of the top 2 or 3 players in the country coming. I mean, when he gets on the field, he's probably not coming off, But on top of that, listen, I mean, Trace Ford coming over. If he's healthy, he's going to be a pain in the ass for teams. You guys know that. He was a big time pass rusher, right? As long as he's healthy. But they added a lot along that defensive line, which is what you have to do. Really, the secondary wasn't necessarily the biggest problem last year, but when you're not getting pressure on the quarterback, they have time. your secondary is going to break down. You know what I mean? You guys, I mean, Cody, you talk about that a lot. You know, why is Nardo running the 3-3-5? Same kind of deal. They want to put pressure on the quarterback, right? And be able to kind of do some things that's going to, you know, it messes with the spread offenses for sure. So essentially, but defensively, they're going to be better. And that's really, I mean, you already had a top 15 in the country offense that, you know, really, I mean, if you look at what the scrimmage looked like yesterday, it looked pretty good on both sides of the ball, but the offense shouldn't be an issue, right? You know, you've got Dylan Gabriel coming back for his second season. He's been looking great all during camp. Threw 2 big touchdown passes to Andrew Anthony in that scrimmage yesterday, 40-yard balls. Look, if the defense is even in the top 40 or 50, you got to figure that they're going to be able to make up those 3-point losses. You know, the other ones, you know, again, to me, their floor is probably 9-3, maybe 8-4, maybe 8-4. But I could see 4 teams that might be able to beat them on any day. I don't see all 4 of them doing it, right? I mean, I just have a hard time seeing that. I mean, you could see maybe Kansas, maybe BYU on the road. That's a tough win, right? TCU, and then Texas. I don't see UCF being a problem at all. I don't see Cincinnati being a problem at all. I mean, you have to show up and do your thing. But I mean, UCF's doing a bunch of this stuff, but I mean, you know, they've been recruiting in the freaking 70s for their whole life. I mean, I don't.
Hey, but they're recruiting, or even just for this.
But that's not going to help them this year, though.
No. I agree with you 100%. But to say, like, I mean, honestly, from an outsider looking in, to say like UCF shouldn't be a problem, you know, UCF is going to come into Norman and they are going to play that game like it's their national championship because they want to beat Dylan Gabriel. Is it going to happen? Probably not. But I wouldn't put it past them. You know what I mean? Like, the Big 12 is crazy. And like you said, OU and OSU this season both have a bunch of questions that people want to know. No one knows how OU or OSU is going to be this year. So that's what makes this year super interesting. So, like I said, OU should win the game. Anybody would say OU should win the game. But to say UCF –
well, and it's at home. Here's the thing, though, and it's something that we've talked about a lot on the shows that we've been doing, is that I think that one of the biggest problems for UCF is and all you got to do is look at West Virginia. When you got to start traveling this way, and that's a tough trip for those guys, and they always talk about that it's a lot harder to travel west than it is east, right? Look, I think it's going to be an adjustment for these guys, and part of it is just the fact that, look, man, you haven't played a freaking Power 5 schedule. I mean, you play some Power 5 teams throughout the year here and there, right? Bowl games, and, you know, you might catch 1 or 2 at the first part of the year, but on a week-to-week basis, and by that time, they will have already been to Kansas and Kansas State. You know, I mean, it's not like they have a whole lot of man, I got to say, the one thing about UCF that they got kind of jacked on that schedule, too. You know what I mean? It's like the toughest teams in the league that they're playing them on the road. Every one of them.
Welcome to the Big 12.
Welcome to the Big 12, mouth. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's you know, and they came in doing a bunch of that. That's the other thing. But and I'm not saying you can't lose any of these games, but Iowa State, we're just talking, we don't know if they got a quarterback, right? We don't know who they got. They hadn't been able to beat Oklahoma much anyway because they haven't had a whole lot of offense. But now you got a guy that you're supposed to be your guy. You know, yes, good question. Pierce, I'll give you this. Okay. The hope is yes. I mean, obviously they're a little stronger. They feel like they're going to be better on the offensive line. We've got a good running back duo. I mean, they're going to run the football, and yeah, I hope so. If he doesn't, though, you now have the Gatorade Player of the Year and a 5-star in Jackson Arnold that they're going to have to give him some time at some point anyway, because you know he's going to be the starter going into the SEC.
Thankfully we have that.
If Gabriel went down last year, and look what happened. They had to freaking play a tight end at quarterback in the Red River game, right?
Luckily, we have that fun little rule now where they can play a few games and it not count against the red shirts. So everybody's going to get to see Jackson Arnold. Everybody's going to get to see a lot of the depth pieces. I'll hit one thing Kim set up in the comment section a little bit ago. Yeah, Kim, we really do believe we can win 10 games. It's partially because of the schedule, right? I think the only other team in the conference that definitely got an easier schedule than OU or Cincinnati would definitely be Oklahoma State. This is a year we have to take advantage of that. Offensively, it's the first time in 6-7 years we've had a legit 2 deep. We go 3 deep at 3 of the offensive line spots, both the guards, one of the tackles as well. We go 4 deep at the running back position, looks pretty good. Wide receiver, yeah, we don't have a lot of depth, so this news about Arlen Bruce definitely hurts some things. But there's a lot of things going in our favor. We play 6 teams ranked below us, and the only 2 teams that are ranked ahead of us on our schedule are OU and Kansas State, which we have at home. Now, obviously, we could get the fun stuff kicked off here by talking about that Bedlam game. But, more often than not, right, as diehard of an OSU fan I am, I also realize that we lose so many daggone Bedlams, it's hard to count it as a W. But I will say the thing that gives me a little bit of confidence in that department is the last time we thought it was the last Bedlam ever in BPS, it was pretty electric. It was a lot of fun, and we found a way to get it done. So I think if it has that level, if it has that same level of atmosphere that it had a couple years ago, 2021, I think it gives us a good chance. But if it's a scenario that stuff is going backwards, all sorts of crazy, and we've only got 4 or 5 wins, and OU's got 9 or something like that, then it is what it is. But I don't see that being a thing, because I think our schedules line up for a really good Bedlam matchup. And I actually, I'm interested to get your take on it, Trent. I'm pretty excited. Like I'm one of those people that I would prefer it be big. I would prefer it be 2 top 10 teams. And then obviously the preference would be to finally get over that hump and get another important W in the Bedlam series. So, well, how do you guys see this year's Bedlam just from a way too early perspective? I'll start with you. Trent. Go ahead, fire away, buddy.
I think it's only right for the last Bedlam to be a top 10 showdown. I mean, that'd be absolutely awesome for Oklahoma and Oklahoma State for it to go out in a bang. You know what I mean? Do I think it'll happen? I don't know, because like I said, like I just stated, there's a lot of questions for Oklahoma and Oklahoma State this year. I would absolutely love it if both of them were undefeated going in. That would be absolutely awesome. But as an OSU fan this year, I'm just going to take it a game at a time, my friend, and just to hope we come out with a W and move on to the next week. That's all I can ask for this year, because every year it seems like I know what's expected of our team, but this year I really don't know too much about it. You know what I mean? So
you know what? We'll see. Hey, since I can't do it, somebody go ahead and give Mr. Zach James here a standing ovation. This is good. This is
That's enough of that shit.
This is nice. No, yeah, dude. I think you're right. I've used the analogy before, right? Sometimes when I think of Gundy and Bedlam, I think of the daggone water boy scenario where he looks across the sideline, and you know what I mean? The coach that he's so scared of because of the playbook, that type thing. Yeah, that's why, I think it's important for Gundy this season to just throw caution to the wind, man. Just put the pedal to the metal and let it be damned. Whatever happens, let it happen.
I hate it that it's the quote last one, and whatever, man. It's easy to say whatever you want to say. I'm not going to sit here and throw blame. I don't care about it. I think something needs to come together, because here's the deal. Everybody's got to play out of conference games. Oklahoma State needs out of conference games. I don't care what he's talking about, that they're freaking got it. We've seen the schedule for the next 2 or 3 years. It's kind of booked. You know what? The state would buy the shit out of these, these other squads that are, Oklahoma's got to play against Maine or somebody to fill it out for the next couple of years. You know what I mean? One of the ones that they just came up with, and everybody's talking smack about it. There's not a lot of teams left, right? Well, buy them both out and freaking play the game. And I mean, we talked about it before. Why not get the legislature involved? I don't care who did. And you know what? Here's the other thing: if you're trying to sell this league and you're Brett Yormark, why are you not talking to Gundy or whoever the hell you need to talk to and say, hey, you know what? Suck it up, Buttercup, and let's play the game. Because every other year we'll get to sell it on our end, right? I mean, come on.
So I agree with you. I think for sure think it's a lot better for the state of Oklahoma if OU and Oklahoma State continue Bedlam, because it's obviously going to be continued in every other sport. I mean, it's just football, and I know like other schools are having to deal, like Oregon going to the Big Ten and leaving Oregon State behind. I mean, they're going to try to figure that out. I know Oregon State fans are really upset right now, like saying we don't want anything to do with Oregon, but it's for the state. It's something that needs to be done. It's just the timing of it all. I mean, when it happened, it's just bad because I know Oklahoma State, we have Arkansas, Oregon, and Alabama on our upcoming non-conference schedule in the next 7 years. So
but
I hope they can figure it out. And I would rather
play more than one Power 5 conference school, or is that what we're talking about? That he doesn't want to play more than one Power 5 school, essentially. And I'm not going to sit here and freaking blame anything and I could, because I feel the way I feel about it, but I don't care who's at fault. I don't. It doesn't matter. I mean, you can blame it on Oklahoma if you want to. Who gives a shit? They know. I know that you want to play the game, and I know that people in Oklahoma want to see the game. And most people, I know that there's a segment of Oklahoma State fans that are like, man, we're sick of seeing it. And I get that. But here's the thing. To me, I feel like, hey, I don't know of another coach anywhere that would approach the record that he has against anybody else and get away with that crap, right? No matter who the opponent is, especially not a big-time rival, right? Jason, what's the clownish take is that you're going to make it about that. It's us crying about it. No, I think that this is for the fans. And the reason you just want to pull me into talking some shit here, don't you? The reason why you guys are Okie Light is because you don't want to play games like this, because you're afraid to play this game and you know what? If you win or even come close to winning this game, it makes you look a lot better than what it's going to look playing Central Michigan. Okay, it's going to make you look a lot better. And and Gundy looks weak with all this. You know what he did? Him going to Big 12 media days and freaking immediately going there without even really being asked about it.
Jason, come
on,
bro.
I'll jump on
it. He's not just going to come out. And see, that's the thing that, okay, so like I see your perspective, and I'm not here to get in an argument with you because we could go on for hours about this.
We could.
So whenever Gundy got asked about this last year, like OU fans took it as in like Gundy crying, but Gundy, if he wasn't crying, bro, he's just fucking annoyed. I mean, think about all the people that hit him up like, oh, what's going to happen?
He didn't go to the SEC with him, and I get that. I understand that they didn't get pulled along with them.
So no, and it's not, dude. It's not even that. I think it's more of just constantly like people ask, what's going to happen with Bedlam? What's going to happen with Bedlam? It's more of getting fed up. I don't think it was him crying about it. He just simply said, OU made their choice and that's great. So be it. You know what I mean? He was just over it. That's how I perceived it. But I mean, like I said, your rival is going to make it into something more than it is. You know what I mean?
Talk about keeping my coach's name out of your mouth. You know what, dude? I wasn't the first one. I wasn't even the one that asked it at all, by the way. I didn't ask it. Okay. Coach did, but he asked it after there was another guy that asked him. He wasn't asking about that. Gundy was like, I guess you're talking about Bedlam. And he said it first. And then Coach Roybal, not me, is the one that asked him about, would you play it out of conference? And that's all he did was ask that. So you want to say whatever you want to say? You guys can sit there and be pissy if you want to, Jason. I don't care. I don't care, man. It doesn't bother me. And it's not hurting Oklahoma as much as it is going to hurt Oklahoma State. I'm telling you
need to get the two Jasons in on like a 1-2 battle, baby.
Play the game.
I know, but
how weak does it look to run from this football game, guys? Cody, you said it a bunch of times. Why? Why are you?
Well, no. I don't like Gundy's perspective on it. Right? I don't like the idea of saying that we'll never play it again. I think it's pretty dumb. I think it makes it look like you're running. But I also understand the idea that, I mean, I think he's overplayed the hand that they did this, and if they wouldn't have done this, I think it had some life in the beginning. But I do think that it's overplayed, and I do think it's not a good look.
He did bring it up.
But I'll tell you this.
Bring it up.
No matter what, I would venture to say that sometime in the next 6-7 years, there's going to be a time that we meet up in bowl scenario. It's just I feel like it's inevitable, and I feel like if there's a time in the next few years that we're both top 12, top 15 teams, the committees are going to try to put us together, and I can't flip and wait for it.
That'd be great. But I think that they should play every year. I don't know why you wouldn't. And I'm telling you,
I agree.
if you're trying, I mean,
but I also
every other year
understand.
you're getting to have a
You
home
said,
game
hold
there.
on,
That's good for the conference, is
You
it
said
not?
it was only a couple years. I know that our contracts are done currently through 2028. We have two. Well, semi openings, but there's already booked for Tulsa. You could pull Tulsa out of those two slots, and I agree with you
No,
that
it's
part of
not
it
even
is
that.
come.
To me,
Like that couldn't be made to happen.
As Joe Castiglione, or however you pronounce his name, put it, saying like, hey, we would still want to play Bedlam. Like, if you guys really want to do it so bad, buy out one of our contracts with the team that we already have.
I don't think that would be a problem at all. I don't know why.
I mean, it seems like every and no, and I know it's not
again. That's like a realignment. You
would
make money on it. You know
that's
what I mean?
What I've said, but I mean, the question. I mean, anyone that I've talked to about it, like on the OU side of like, why should we have to? I'm like, well, you're over here complaining, saying we don't want to play it, and we've just simply stated, hey, our non-conference is already booked up until so-and-so time. So if you want it as bad as you're saying you do, buy out the contract with one of the teams, like one of the low teams. You know what I mean? Like, that's the easiest solution. If Castiglione really wants to keep Bedlam that bad, that is your option right there. And
I think that would be. Don't you think there would be people in this state that would line up to pay that buyout?
Yeah, but the question is, can you afford to pay that buyout right now? Like, it's not even, and that's not taking a jab by any means at OU. It's a real question.
I mean, they're going to be fine.
Jason, can they though? Really, can they though?
$500,000?
They can pay it right now. Because I think if they wanted to, they would already done.
Bro. They're not coming out of pocket for the buyout even. That's coming out of their earnings from the conference, and they're going to be making money immediately.
Well, that's their own way for the buyout, unless Texas gives them money. I mean, that's the
way that it's going. It's coming out of the money that they were already
that's just what they that's what they agreed on. And like I said, I'm more so happy that
they have the money, bro. Come on.
But hey, Jason.
I mean, if they don't have it, I'm sure they could probably
they could get it in the future. No, they could get it in the future. I'm not doubting that. I'm saying right now, though.
They would absolutely they could, dude. Don't be crazy. You know better than that, dude. They got plenty of money. They just freaking funded a $200 million upgrade to the freaking practice facility and stadium.
Who did?
Oklahoma.
What was the loan interest on that?
I don't freaking care.
Shit. I'm just giving you a hard time. I'm just trying to get you riled up.
Grandpa left y'all all that cash, so y'all are spending it. Relax.
Yeah, you're damn right. You're damn right, and we are greatly appreciative for Boone and his glorious money. All right, guys, let's have some fun here and roll around. All right, we'll do the same comment, but we'll go to Lubbock. We'll go to Lubbock, Texas. Texas Tech wins 10 games if anybody.
Their quarterback, whatever, I can't think of his name on top of my head, stays healthy. I think Texas Tech is going to surprise. That's probably my biggest surprise team this year in the Big 12 is Texas Tech. They have a lot of hype, but I think that they can back it this year. So I'm really curious, and they have a really good non-conference game against Oregon's coming to Lubbock, I believe the second weekend of college football. So that's going to be a really fun one to watch.
Yeah, I would say their quarterback is their strength, right? I'm a big believer in Tyler Shuck. I'm an even bigger believer in Baron Morton right behind Tyler Shuck. Yeah. I don't know what they're going to do running game wise. I don't know what they're going to do running game wise. And defensively has always been a little bit of a question, right?
The defense every year is a question, dude. I feel like they every year have the worst defense in the Big 12. Like, always giving up the big plays. Like, dude, that Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes game will forever be a classic, dude, because both of those defense were just so bad. It was nonstop offense. But that's Texas Tech literally every year. I think last year was probably one of their better years on defense.
Right.
Okay.
Here's the thing about Wet Blanket. This is not your granddaddy's Tech. I can tell you that. This is because
for sure.
Joey McGuire, having been the Texas High School Coaches Association president, man, he's out recruiting a lot of Texas and A&M guys that he's getting to come there. All the guys that are in this quarterback room and gonna be in the quarterback room are Elite 11 guys.
I think Robert's got a pretty decent point there, right? O line's going to be a little bit.
I don't
know
how weak that is, and the defense isn't weak. They lost one guy that was a top 10 guy. They lost one guy. They actually.
Well, I think he's meaning.
Here's what I would tell you.
They've been pretty bad.
Here's the stats you need to know. 19 out of 22 guys are returning starters and seniors. 19 out of 22 starters are seniors. 5th year and they've even got a couple of 6th year for the COVID. If you want to know the stat that was important to TCU, that was it. That they had so many of those super senior guys, right?
All right. Well,
that is what Tech is full of right now. And they've got the younger guys that are behind them are ballers. Look, they're going to have some, and not all of them are necessarily going to be the great, but I'm telling you, 19 seniors that are freaking 5th or 6th year seniors, and they're out of 22 starters on offense and defense. That's a pain in the ass. This is the only Tech team to ever beat Oklahoma and Texas in the same year. Ever. It's never happened before. I mean,
we'll keep in the state of Texas.
Sleep on these dudes at your own peril, man. Sleep on these dudes at your own peril. That's all.
We'll stay in the state of Texas. Baylor, we'll do the same thing. They win 10 if. Go ahead, Trent.
Their quarterback, same thing, dude. Last year he wasn't consistent. Can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Blake Shapen.
Blake Shapen. Like, I feel like last year he had all that hype coming into last year after how he performed against Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship. He just tore us up. Last year I don't think he was that great, and so I mean they
bad games.
Aranda really put all of his eggs in one basket with that kid, because that other quarterback that they had that was the starter all of that season leading up to the Big 12 championship game got hurt, yada yada. He ended up leaving, obviously. So I mean it's Shapen. That's the only correct answer right there. It's, can he get consistent?
I would say I would go a little bit, right? I'd throw a little bit of flowers to our guy, Dom Richardson.
Dominic Richardson. How could we forget about Dominic Richardson?
Well, I think that if Baylor, they have a pretty good backfield, right? I like Richard Reese quite a bit. I think Richard Dom, if Dom has a strategic goal, and that goal is to only get X amount of yards at a time, 3, 4, 5 yards at a time max, he can probably do that. The thing in Stillwater is we needed him to bust it for 14, 15, 20, and it didn't happen. So I think that if Baylor, if they can control the clock, that'll keep him in a lot of games and give him opportunities for Dave Aranda to kind of show off a little bit. We'll keep it in the state.
Was against Baylor, a couple years back when he had 2 or 3 touchdowns in Waco. You remember what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. All right, so Jason, Houston wins 10 if.
There
ain't no damn way.
I was expecting you to say something like, when pigs fly.
Yeah. A pig flies right out of Dana's ass. Yeah, no way.
There you go.
No damn way.
All right, you know what? That's fair. There's probably not much of a need to stay down there. So we'll stay with some realistic scenarios here. Everybody's hot take. Everybody's hot take is Texas. Everybody's hot takes every year's flipping fracking Texas. And, I think they have more talent than they have in quite some time. Sure. But let's do the opposite here. Let's tear down the facade of Texas winning 10 games. Texas will not win 10 because, and I'll start this one, I'll say Texas ain't going to win 10 because they just got the cancerous crap figured out, right? Their locker room has been a joke for years and years and years and years and years. They think they're better than everybody. They think they've arrived as soon as they get on campus. I do think they're getting a lot of that figured out, but I don't think it's going to be instantaneous.
I don't think it's all about that either, though, Cody. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's Sark's issue is adjustment, right? Yeah, I love this.
Yeah, that's good.
Houston wins 10 if it's hoops. Yeah, they'll win 10 in the first month. So that's awesome. Look,
Kim's is even better.
Yeah, there's another one. Yeah, that's about the same as Sark winning 10, I think. Actually, Kim, way to go. A daily double. So look, Sark doesn't make his first year. He had leads at halftime 6 straight games. He lost all 6, starting with Red River. They lost all 6, right? I mean, good grief, man. Really? Then this past year, same thing. You know, they have a 17-point lead in Stillwater, and Bijan and Roshan will get the football again. They're throwing it in the wind with the crosswind coming through still, and we know how that works out at that stadium, right? At Cowboy Stadium. There ain't no way that you should have been doing that. And he's throwing 25-yard freaking crossing routes that's got the ball moving. It's little stupid things, but every time somebody else makes an adjustment, Sark doesn't. I think that's his biggest issue. If he can learn to do that,
y'all leave Hank alone, all right? Hank gets a little lost in the sauce sometimes, right?
Why are y'all coming at
my
boy?
He has an extra 6 to 12 pack every time we get on.
Hey, come on, Cody.
What? Every single time we talk about Hank being the man of the drinking hour,
bro. What the fuck? Now Trent's doing it. Here we go.
I'm just messing around, but hey, so let's get back to it. So my take on Texas is I think they're not going to win 10 games. I think Jason made a really good point about Sark. It just does seem like he has a hard time adjusting in big game situations. But I think Texas is going to win 10 games because they're Texas. I'm just waiting for them.
Yeah, if they do, it'll be the first time he ever did too, Trent. That's the other thing. He's only won 9 games once as a head coach.
Well, and so I'm going to tell you, this is exactly what's going to play out for Texas this year, guys. And I want everybody who's watching this show, remember this. So when Texas underperforms, they lose a game that they're not supposed to. They will lose a game that they're not supposed to.
Yeah.
And then the fan base is going to call for Quinn Ewers' head, and they're going to say, put Arch Manning in the game. And it's just going to I feel like it's going to cause that team to crumble. Do I think
that they're going to Malik Murphy, my guy? You think they're going to skip Malik?
I mean, they could, but I mean, look at all the hype behind Arch. That's what
they skip Malik, bro.
Yeah, no, Malik looks like a dog. Yeah, he is. He looks big, but I think Texas overall most definitely has the most talent in the Big 12. They almost do every year. They just don't get utilized right, and I think a lot of those players are more about themselves than on a team.
Malik is that dude, man. And Fanatics right there. Malik is the dude. If they bring him in, that's where, they should win probably, because he's 6'5", 225, has as big an arm as. And listen, not to say that Quinn doesn't have a big arm. He's an NFL guy, right? He is. He's not this dude. This guy's like Vince Young 2.0, and he's 6'5", 230. He can throw it, and he's running like a 4.4. He's a baller. It's scary to think about him. You don't want to see that dude in the lineup. I don't want to.
Right. That's one thing I'm jealous about OU this year is they get to play Texas. I'm very upset we don't get Texas because that's always an easy W for us. You know what I mean? Like it sucks. It stinks, but no shit against Texas, guys. I know I have friends that are Texas fans. I just had to throw that in there, but for real, that is an easy dub for us. So
yeah, that would be funny. We want Arch. We'd love to see Arch. Yeah, because I want to see how, look, his name, I think it's clear that he wasn't the number 1 recruit in the country, right? He wasn't the best quarterback in I mean, quarterback.
You're talking about Spencer Rattler.
Sorry,
I saw that comment down low about Spencer, so that because I thought Spencer was the number 1
sure that,
too.
Look, man, he's not my favorite OU quarterback ever. I'll just say that. Not a big fan of Spencer Rattler, particularly since, what happened over the last year and a half. So, yeah, I mean, to me, you don't want to see Arch, though. Or you want to see Arch before you see the freaking Transformer kid. I mean, Malik Murphy's the guy, but I think that Arch, he played at a 2A school. He never went to camps. We don't really know that much about him. We know that he was
playing JV squad.
Bro, look at this. Arch is the next Ryan Leaf. That's a take, bud.
Who
That's
said that?
Take.
Who's the next Ryan Leaf?
Yeah, bro.
That's harsh.
That's
Texas trolling right there, buddy.
Stab.
Bro, is there any Texas fans in here right now? Probably not, but I'm curious.
Oh no, and that's what Jason's talking about. Me, sour grapes. You guys are, you got a lot of love for Texas, right, Jason?
Oh, Jason loves Texas.
Jason,
you know what?
He would go to Oklahoma State.
Big Texas guy.
That was a take by the ACC guy. Oh, shoot.
That'd be funny. If you think Oklahoma State would get – wouldn't he go to, like, your rival first, coach? don't you think he'd be going to Florida instead, so he could go up and play against Georgia? It'd be just the kind of guy that go Billy Dog go after.
Oh, I see. Malik going to O State. I don't know, man. I don't know. I know people think that it's crazy to say, but I think we're pretty happy with quarterback. And BYU just got another quarterback today. So Milwaukee Smith coming to Stillwater is looking real nice.
We got really nice quarterback, baby.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what, guys? Before we skedaddle on out of here, let's shift a little bit, to the other side of the coast. Do either one of you think that there's any chance in God's orange earth that the Big 12 finds a way to get Miami, or is that a foregone conclusion?
Dude, why does people? If Miami will be, if the ACC falls apart, Miami's going to be in the Big 12. They
what?
will.
You think so? Dude, I don't think the SEC
would
allow that. The SEC ain't going to let that happen.
Bro, they will be in the Big 12.
No, they'll be in the Big 10 before they get in the Big 12. There ain't no damn way. No way.
There's no way the SEC is not going to take Florida State.
Right.
And Miami when they already have Florida. But dude, it just, to me, I don't think the Big 10 would want them. I think Miami's culture fits.
I don't think the Big 12.
And I said the same thing about Oregon. Like, granted, Oregon went to the Big 10. Like, they got their money, whatever. But I thought Oregon's culture and how they played fit the Big 12 like perfectly. I was really hoping that they would make their way to the Big 12, but I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, right now it's a business, and you're going to go to wherever you can get the most money. And it finally happened. I didn't think it was going to happen for Oregon or Washington, not for at least another couple years. But I
think they kind of forced their hand, though, was the whole thing with the Big 12. No, I don't think they wanted to do it. I don't think that was something they wanted to do, but I think that.
Hey, hold the hell on there, Mr. Hank. Why would that be a pipe dream? They're either going to go to the SEC, the Big 10, or the Big 12, right? And I don't know. I do know Fanatic knows some people down in those parts, so there might be some validity to the statement. But if the SEC and the Big 10 don't want Miami, they've got to be Big 12 bound.
They're AAU. They're more of a Big 10 fit. They've always kind of seen Miami as more of a Big 10 fit.
I feel like the Big 10 is going to look at Miami and think that whole university is shady just with how they're passed on. They don't care.
AAU, that's all that matters.
Listen, look, right? He's saying, right, Trent is right. SEC not high on FSU or Miami. I could see FSU going to the Big 10, but I don't think Miami will go to the Big 10. But like I said, if I'm wrong, we'll have this discussion when it happens. We just have to wait it out.
I think Clemson is the only one that I would guarantee is an SEC school.
Yeah, for sure.
And I could see Virginia being another one, maybe even Carolina. But to be honest with you, I think he's about right. I think what I would tell you is that the whole thing, and I think you back me up on this one, Coach I, is that for a lot of years, Coach Bowden and the SEC kind of went back and forth of, I'm not coming.
Yeah.
Why do I need to do that when I go to the Orange Bowl every damn year anyway?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was a better situation, and they didn't like it because it wasn't helping their conference get stronger. And then, there's, how that Southern stuff, man, is, there's a lot of freaking grudges that get held. And when Georgia Tech ended up out of there, they're another one of those schools that I doubt would ever be able to get invited back, right? I don't know. I can't even imagine.
I don't know, man. I don't know. All right, Trent. You tell us, since you're right there in the thick of recently moving to Iowa. Does the Iowa State or Iowa fan base, do they seem to be freaking out about all this, or they just kind of take it in stride, you feel?
So where I live right outside of Ames, so it's pretty much all Iowa State fans. Honestly, I didn't really know too much about Iowa State fans before I got up here, but they're super chill. The ones that I had talked to, I think they already kind of thought that they weren't going to be that good this year, so they're just like, you know what, it is what it is. I think they're taking it very well, compared to what, how Oklahoma State would if we lost our starting quarterback for some gambling issues or, like I said, but I took I asked a lot of them right when that news dropped about Deckers, and they said take the under on our season because there's no way we're winning. So easy money right there. If y'all want to make some easy money, take the under on Iowa State.
Take the under.
There you go. Bro, why hold on, man? I wish you could come on here. I don't agree with this. 5 to 6 years, man. I think it'll be within 2, buddy. I'd say by 2026 for sure.
You pay more attention than that, don't you? Come on now.
Yeah, I would say I would be pretty comfortable saying 2025, but I'd put a lot of money on 2026 for sure, buddy.
I mean, it could be 5 or 6 days from now that it comes apart, man. There's no telling. I mean, it may stay together for a while.
What does that say? I'm trying to read this. Connor Johnson. I bet the OK State.
Would we take that? Would we play Oregon State for a spot? I mean, yeah. Why would we not play Oregon State?
Why? That's an easy.
Is that
Oregon State, dude? What? Hey, man. So I got on a Twitter space for Oregon State the other day, and actually they're really cool. But like, Oregon State has one good season in 20 years, and now they just think their head honcho can beat anybody. Like we were just in Corvallis 2 years ago, spanked y'all with a young quarterback. I don't want to hear any business. You guys wouldn't. I wouldn't even say out of 10 games you guys would beat.
Who do you think's got a better quarterback now?
What's up?
Who do you think's got a better quarterback now, though?
Ukulele is overrated, and I'm gonna laugh so hard when.
Easy. No.
Bro, Jason.
He's in
a better system now. He is a better system now. But I don't. Okay, so I'll give Oregon State that they probably have a better quarterback right now because I don't know much about our quarterback. But regardless,
isn't he was the number 1 quarterback in the country, bro? Come on.
He lost his starting position to a freshman, my boy. He ain't no number 1.
Right, by the way, hey,
come on, dude. Come on.
Dude.
Jason.
It wasn't about him, bro. It was not about him. That was Streeter, and the fact that they were not recruiting the same type of receivers that they had before, bro.
Wait, what? What'd you say?
They haven't gotten a receiver open that could get separation in freaking 2 years, 3 years.
What bet? What? I don't understand the bet. Do you want me to? Okay, I will take the bet.
Somebody bet
we play
for
a
y'all to play
game
for a spot in the Big 12. Yeah, you can take the bet.
You know what? I'll take that bet, and then I will go straight to Brett Yormark and make sure it happens, man. I'm glad that I have that kind of pool,
right?
Yeah,
dude, yeah, man. I do have that pool.
He is literally locked on Oklahoma State. He can do anything with the Big 12 that he wants to do.
Man.
I'm waiting for this guy to say take the bet. What is the bet?
Reason, all right.
We should be betting if Oregon State goes to the Mountain West or not. That's what we should be betting on.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Too soon, bro. Too soon.
Nah, like it's all fun and games. Hey, Jason, come on. Don't act like you didn't see what Oregon State's been talking about. All jokes aside, I'll tell you what,
Connor's been super cool though. He's been on our show a bunch of times. He's a cool kid, man. But there have been. Look, it's just like the Utah guys. Who's worse than them? Who's worse than Utah? And they're here. You know, that's what I'm saying. Who's worse than Utah? Connor's he's been on our stuff quite a bit.
No,
but
all jokes aside, I do hope that you guys find
he's busting y'all's chops a little bit. But I mean, they want a spot. Man. They're hoping.
And dude, we've talked about how I think it sucks
about it is that you have these schools like them they're getting left out of it right now.
Yeah. And it does suck. And it would have been cool. It would have been cool if they'd have been
and it all comes
in the
because
conference.
of people like SC and SC and freaking Stanford that don't care anyway. You know, SC was on the damn way out and they voted it down for the whole merger. The merger should have happened. You know, it just goes to show you that freaking hubris of the Pac-12 was out of freaking control, man. It was.
Yeah.
I will say, I think Oregon State, they do have a good fan base, and I think they may have, started on all of their, their renovations with their stadium a couple years too late. I don't think for a while because, they were down bad for a long time. My whole thing is maybe they started a little too late. I do think they have solid fan base. I've been up to Corvallis. They have a beautiful campus. I
hate it for the baseball. I hate it for baseball, man. Their baseball is legitimate, and I hate to see that go. Hopefully, no matter how it shakes out, right? Even and I'm not throwing shade, I'm just saying if they do end up in a G5 style of status, Hopefully, somehow they can keep that baseball program so it can be like a Dallas Baptist and an Oral Roberts that's in the conversation for Omaha every single year. That would still be pretty cool.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I said, I think, them and Washington State for sure both got hosed, and it's unfortunate because any team, like, I couldn't imagine.
The thing is, at some point you needed to really that whole conference, you know what I mean? Aside from your Utahs and your Washington and Oregon and them, right? That they just look, they didn't prioritize. This is what Fitz was talking about last week, right? That they didn't prioritize sports. They never did, and they almost kind of looked down on the sports side of it, right?
Yeah.
It was hilarious to me that they made it about academics and stuff for, on realignment, because it was they always hated the sports side of it. They would never share money, never. Even if you could, they would never do that, right? So the fact that they did all of that and they neglected it for all those years, and then it's terrible that now you're in that situation. But I mean, what happened to all that money? What happened to all the money that you had? Now obviously there's been some mismanagement at the conference level, but these presidents haven't been doing the right thing with that money either. Because if that was the case, then you wouldn't be in this situation.
It's partially the president's fault that they're in this predicament. I mean, it's not just George Kilikoff, or however you pronounce his name, as the president. Like, you guys, the Pac-12, it still baffles me to this day, turned down Oklahoma, Texas, Oklahoma State, and Texas Tech. Who would turn that down? Who would turn that down? That is so dumb. And that is where the Pac-12 started going down.
Again, that's where when those conference presidents believed that they overvalued themselves at that point.
They did.
Completely overvalued themselves.
They did.
And when you just had your biggest market leave town, your blue bloods left town, and you're acting like you were worth SEC money, and you just weren't.
Hey, Jason,
Jason.
Hey, we could maybe do one. We could do one better. Maybe we can get regular Jason, the Sherman side of the Sherman Schnitzel show on next Sunday. If you, Mr. Watkins, have some availability, we can jump in here and make this thing a big old ball.
Hey, I got a ref outfit in the other room, a t-shirt. I'll put it on and I'll be the referee.
Hey, man, I'm not coming in to talk BS.
All right, guys. Well, hey, I got to get off here.
I got you. I was actually about to just say, Trent, let the fine people out there know how they can see you, how they can find you, how they can track you down, since you like to hide.
Just on Twitter, that's the best way. Trent Snitz, name right now is Free Arlen Bruce, or Arlen Bruce is innocent. Free my boy. He's innocent. He didn't do any of that gambling. He's gonna be ready to go. But best way to keep up with me is honestly Twitter, man. That's where I do all my interactions at. That's where I watch Cody and Jason's content whenever I'm not on their shows, even though I make the shows 10 times better.
You do. You're a heck of a guest, man. I don't know why you haven't been on more of them.
No, I mean, we started doing this thing, but like I said, with me moving up here, this last 2 months has been super hectic. So I'm just glad we could start it back up. But yeah, man, I'm always down to be on anybody's show. If you got something good to talk about, we'll talk about it.
Trent just called you mid. He just called me mid.
Who called me mid? Jason, come on, man. Jason's Jason, man. Jason. Hey, I know you're messing around. It's all right.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'll jump into one of those spaces. Just hit me up. You saw what my on Twitter. You can find me at JW_HOF. HOFmedia.us on the web, and the YouTube site is just CFB-pod. So come check us out. Hall of Fame Mafia, thanks for coming in and checking everything out. Hey, tomorrow we actually have DJ Uwe Ungalale's dad, Big Dave, is going to be on the show tomorrow night.
Big Dave.
So, Big Dave is going to be on the show. So everybody tune in. We'll be talking a little bit. Hey, our boy here that was just in here, where's he at?
Cool.
Connor, Connor, come check it out, man. We're going to talk to him about DJ. We'll be talking to him a little bit about, hey, man, he's got kids on both sides of that rivalry. How crazy is that got to be? You got a quarterback and Mateo chasing him down. His kid that goes to Oregon. Edge rusher trying to get his brother.
Hey, real quick before we hop out of here, Stephen G. Answer your question. What does Oklahoma State think about Bowman? He's going to be the second Heisman Trophy winner in Oklahoma State history. I'm just kidding, man. Like I said, I don't know much about him. I know he shredded us a couple years ago.
Gunner should be the guy.
I don't think Jason understands my sarcasm yet.
I do. I'm just laughing about it. I think it's hilarious.
No, that was good.
Yeah, no, I think if he plays like how he did against Oklahoma State a couple years ago, I think there's a lot of potential for us. But like I said, it's kind of up in the air right now.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about that.
I like Alan Bowman. I think he's going to get a lot of playing time. He hasn't, he hasn't completely like run away with the job, but I don't think that's an indictment on him. I think that's an indication that Garrett Rangel is better than people think, man. But we like Alan Bowman. His leadership in the locker room has been a breath of fresh air. His ability to convert,
right?
His ability to what?
He looks the part. He's big. He's got a big arm.
Yeah. 6'4", 230. He understands the offense really well. He's got a good touch on the ball, good placement. He understands what to do. He's had 2.5 years of under center. So the transition to offense shouldn't be difficult, but Garrett Rangel is sticking right by him.
Right. Cody needs on this Saturday. Yeah.
What's up?
You want to jump on Fan Addict with us on Saturday?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I can do that.
Cool. Yep. Yeah. Hey, that's going to be a lot of fun.
Y'all. Well, I appreciate you.
All right,
I appreciate you, Jason. Thanks for jumping in. The other Jason, make sure you go get all it up, buddy. I know you've got. Oh my Jesus, Mary and Joseph. How do I? Hold on. I'll shut that off. I'll shut that off real quick, fast, in a hurry. Yeah, I found a mute button. I couldn't find it fast enough. You're going to get on here and you're going to derail and jack everything up at the very end, and you're going to make people's ears bleed before we get off. That's a dick move, sir. That's a dick move.
Come on, bro.
All right, fellas. My daughter's
crazy,
so I got to hop off here. But, yeah, it's always a pleasure, guys.
Love you guys, man. We'll talk to you
later. Take it easy. Yep.
All right, y'all. Appreciate you, fellas.
Later.
All right, y'all. Well, it's pretty simplistic. It's pretty self-explanatory. I had a lot of fun with this one. Everybody make sure you give our buddy Jason Sherman a hard time. Go follow Trent if you don't already. Go follow some of what Jason Watkins does. He's an OU guy. We can't all be perfect. You have to forgive him for his misfortunes in life. But he does a really good job with covering the Big 12. So it's a fun time, and I appreciate everybody hopping in here. All right, y'all. I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. And until next time, later, taters.